Welcome back to Stoic Wisdom. Imagine standing alone on a battlefield, storms raging around you, enemies closing in. Yet within your chest, there is a fortress no enemy can breach, no storm can shake. That fortress is your mind. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, taught that your mind is your sovereign domain, your impregnable citadel. Nothing external, no event, no insult, no hardship, has power over it unless you grant permission. And if you master this truth, you master yourself. And in mastering yourself, you master life. Today, I want to share 6 key points rooted in Stoicism that bring this powerful idea to life. The Stoics understood that external events, in themselves, are neither good nor bad. They are neutral, unfolding according to the laws of nature and the march of fate. It is only the mind that interprets them, judges them, and assigns them emotional weight. This is a radical idea because it places responsibility entirely within the individual. No misfortune, no insult, no betrayal has the power to harm you unless you first declare it harmful. You could lose your fortune, suffer disgrace, or be abandoned by those you love. And still, in the eyes of a disciplined mind, these are simply facts, not personal tragedies. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. If you are insulted and you do not view the insult as damaging, then it causes no injury. If you lose a possession and you do not believe that your happiness depends upon it, then you are not diminished. The mind, therefore, is the final judge, the ultimate filter through which reality passes. If you guard this filter, you preserve your peace. This does not mean indifference to life or to meaningful effort. Rather, it means a refusal to be a slave to every passing circumstance. In this way, the mind can maintain its sovereignty. You choose your attitude. You decide whether to see an obstacle as a curse or an opportunity. You are the author of your internal state. This perspective is not easily maintained. It requires daily vigilance, a commitment to reflection, and a steady confrontation with your own irrational judgments. Yet if you live by it, you find a deeper, indestructible form of happiness, one that does not sway with fortune's cruel winds, but remains grounded in the integrity of your own reasoned soul. The Stoics believed that true strength comes from within, from the disciplined and cultivated mind that stands firm against the chaos of the external world. External forces will always try to push and pull you, tempting you to anger, fear, jealousy, or despair. But if your mind is properly fortified, like a citadel surrounded by unbreakable walls, these forces will crash against you without penetrating your inner peace. No army can conquer a man who has mastered himself. No insult can wound him. No loss can destroy him. The storms of life may howl and rage, but within, he remains calm, centered, and steadfast. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that our minds are the only domain where we hold absolute authority. This realization is profoundly empowering because it strips away the illusion that our well-being depends on anything outside ourselves. People may betray you. Fortunes may vanish. Health may fail. But none of these can seize your tranquility unless you allow them entrance into your mind. You are the gatekeeper. You decide what thoughts you will entertain, what passions you will permit to grow, and what judgments you will make about your experiences. Building this inner citadel is the work of a lifetime. It demands discipline, reflection, and relentless honesty. You must constantly examine your thoughts, identifying those that weaken your spirit or distort your vision of what is truly good. You must cultivate habits of gratitude, resilience, and courage, and you must resist the temptation to blame the world for your troubles. A fortified mind does not expect an easy life but prepares for a difficult one with grace and resolve. It meets hardship with dignity and greets fortune with humility. In this way, you not only survive the chaos of life, you transcend it, living as a free and sovereign being. In the philosophy of Stoicism, the distinction between what is within our control and what is not is one of the most crucial lessons for achieving inner peace. Marcus Aurelius and the other Stoics teach that we suffer not because of the events themselves, but because of our judgments about them. When you constantly try to control things that are inherently uncontrollable, such as other people's opinions, the outcome of your efforts, or the course of nature, you set yourself up for frustration, resentment, and unnecessary misery. The wise man focuses his energy solely on mastering his own thoughts, actions, and responses, and he leaves the rest to fate without bitterness or despair. Understanding what is truly within your control gives you the ability to direct your life with clarity and strength. You cannot control whether people treat you fairly, but you can control whether you respond with kindness or anger. You cannot control whether a storm ruins your plans, but you can control whether you adapt with resilience or complain with futility. This simple but profound realization can free you from much of life's emotional turmoil. When you accept that many things are simply not yours to govern, you liberate yourself from the exhausting and endless struggle against reality. This principle demands humility because it requires you to admit that you are not the master of the universe. Yet it also grants you immense power, the power to maintain your character and virtue no matter what the world throws at you. By keeping your focus on your own thoughts and actions, you become unshakable, like a rock standing firm against the tides. Life will not always go as you wish, but your soul will remain intact, and in the end, that is the only true possession you will ever have. The mind, according to Stoic philosophy, must be guarded as fiercely as one would guard a fortress. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the idea that external events cannot truly harm us unless we allow them to breach the walls of our own reason. This metaphor of the mind as a citadel reminds us that our peace, virtue, and rationality are treasures that must be defended against the constant assaults of fear, anger, envy, and despair. Life will inevitably bring challenges, illness, loss, betrayal, disappointment, but none of these can touch the core of who we are unless we throw open the gates ourselves and surrender to chaos. To guard the mind is to practice constant vigilance. It means paying careful attention to what thoughts you permit to enter and take root. A person who leaves their mind unguarded will find it occupied by every passing anxiety and every petty provocation. But a person who treats their mind as a sacred space will choose their thoughts deliberately, encouraging only those ideas that are aligned with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. It requires the strength to say no, to fear, to anger, to bitterness, whenever they try to storm the gates. Discipline is essential in this endeavor. Just as a city would appoint watchmen to scan the horizon for enemies, you must remain awake to the first signs of negative thinking creeping into your consciousness. You must challenge harmful assumptions before they can gain power over you. Remember, no one can take your peace from you. Only you can give it away. And each time you defend your mind against the incursions of despair or vice, you grow stronger, more resilient, more capable of living according to reason. Your mind is your citadel. Guard it with the seriousness it deserves, and you will stand undefeated no matter what storms rage outside. In the philosophy of Stoicism, understanding that everything external to the mind is outside of our control is a crucial realization. Marcus Aurelius teaches that while we can influence the world around us through our actions and words, the outcomes, reactions of others, and events themselves are not truly ours to command. This knowledge is both liberating and deeply humbling. It frees us from the illusion that we must bend the world to our will, and it invites us to focus entirely on what we can govern, our own thoughts, choices, and moral character. When a person accepts that external events are not within their control, they cease wasting precious energy on resentment, frustration, or anxiety over outcomes. They stop blaming fate, fortune, or other people for their distress. Instead, they recognize that their inner response is the true battleground. Success, failure, praise, blame, pleasure, pain. These are conditions that arise and pass like weather. But the soul, the inner citadel, must remain unshaken. It must judge events not by how comfortable or painful they are, but by whether the individual has acted with virtue. This perspective requires a disciplined mind, trained to distinguish between what belongs to us, our reasoned choices, and what does not, everything else. It does not mean apathy or withdrawal from the world. Rather, it means full engagement with life, but with serenity rather than desperation. A Stoic acts with effort and integrity, but is prepared to accept any result with grace. Whether one wins or loses, the real victory lies in the steadfastness of character. Living with this awareness allows a person to move through life with greater freedom, strength, and tranquility. It is not the external world that defines us, but how we meet it, and that is forever within our command. The importance of building an inner fortress, a citadel of the mind, is a central teaching in Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that while the world outside can be chaotic, unjust, and unpredictable, the mind can remain orderly, virtuous, and strong if we take care to fortify it. Life will present hardship, betrayal, loss, and unexpected suffering. Yet none of these things have the power to corrupt the mind unless we permit them. If we cultivate resilience, wisdom, and integrity, no external circumstance can break us from within. To build such a fortress requires daily work. It begins by training our thoughts to align with reason rather than emotion. When we are insulted, we remember that the insult harms only if we believe it does. When we suffer setbacks, we recall that fortune is beyond our control, but courage in the face of adversity is not. Every experience, whether pleasant or painful, becomes a test of character, an opportunity to strengthen the walls of our inner citadel. We develop habits of patience, temperance, and justice. We learn to examine our judgments and to act from principle rather than impulse. Over time, this disciplined way of thinking creates a profound internal security. While others may be tossed about by the storms of fortune, the one who has built an inner fortress stands firm. His peace does not depend on wealth, reputation, or health, because these are unstable foundations. His peace depends only on his own commitment to virtue, which cannot be taken from him. Thus, true freedom is found not in mastering the world, but in mastering oneself. Marcus Aurelius's vision is clear. If you make your mind an impregnable fortress, then no misfortune can conquer you. Your soul remains sovereign, calm, and unconquered, even in the face of life's greatest trials. If you live by these principles, you will not be tossed about like a ship without anchor. You will become like the strong oak that bends, but does not break. You will find true freedom, true strength, not by seeking to control the world, but by mastering yourself. Remember, no one can conquer you if you do not first surrender your own mind. Let it stand as your citadel, your place of refuge, your ultimate source of strength. Marcus Aurelius knew it. The Stoics lived by it, and so must we.